The metallic clink against crystal stopped my hand mid-reach. I stared at my martini, and something glinting at the bottom that wasn't a garnish. My fingers trembled as I fished it out. Water scattered across white linen as I lifted a vintage platinum ring set with an emerald-cut diamond. My breath caught. I'd seen this ring before. Years ago. "Miss Bennett, is everything all right?" The sommelier materialized at my elbow. Yes, fine." The lie tasted bitter. I'd received the invitation 3 days ago at the gallery where I worked. Heavy cream cardstock, my name in elegant calligraphy. No signature. Just a time, 8 p.m. tonight, and the restaurant name, Vesper. I should have ignored it. But something about the formality intrigued me. And truthfully, my predictable routine made even potential danger preferable to another night alone with takeout. Now, sitting in the most exclusive restaurant in New York with a wet engagement ring in my palm and my heart hammering, I regretted my curiosity. Vesper didn't advertise. If you knew about it, you could afford it. The dining room held perhaps 15 tables, each positioned for privacy. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over burgundy walls. The air smelled of expensive cologne, aged wine, and something else I couldn't place. Power, maybe. I'd felt out of place immediately in my simple black dress. The maitre d' had looked skeptical until I gave my name, then his expression transformed. "Miss Bennett, of course. Your host is expecting you." My host. Not my companion. As if this were a formal function rather than a date. He'd led me to this corner table where I could see the entire room, but was partially hidden by a screen. A power position. Whoever arranged this wanted to watch me unseen. The ring felt heavy. I dried it carefully, then held it to the light. Inside the band, barely readable, LM plus LB, sempre, always. My vision blurred. I knew this ring. I'd admired it in an antique shop window at 17, walking home with, "Hello, Laura." The voice came from behind, low and achingly familiar despite 10 years of silence. Rich, with a trace of Italian accent. A voice from dreams and nightmares. I turned slowly, afraid he'd disappear. Like he had before. Lucas Moretti stood 3 feet away, and time had been unfairly generous. He'd been beautiful at 18. Now, at 28, he was devastating. Broader shoulders, sharper features, dangerous. His charcoal suit probably cost more than my car. A Patek Philippe gleamed at his wrist, but his eyes, still amber brown, but harder now. Haunted. Lucas. His name barely whispered. My hand closed around the ring. "You're here." Pain flickered across his face. "May I sit?" I should have said no. Instead, I nodded as he settled across from me with predatory grace. Up close, I saw a thin scar on his cheekbone. Exhaustion masked by expensive grooming. The way his eyes constantly scanned the room. Hypervigilance. "You look beautiful," he said quietly. "More beautiful than I remembered." "Don't." I set the ring between us like an accusation. "You don't get to disappear for 10 years and show up with this." "What is this, Lucas?" "No game." He picked up the ring. His hands were different. Stronger, scarred knuckles. "I bought this the day before I left. I was going to give it to you at graduation. Ask you to wait while I went to college." He stopped, jaw tightening. "I thought we had time." "You left. Flat, emotionless. The day before graduation. No note. Your phone disconnected, house empty. I went by 3 times before your neighbor said you'd moved." "I know." "That's it?" Anger seeped through. "Do you know what that did to me? I thought you were dead. I called hospitals, filed a missing persons report the police laughed at. I mourned you for months. Like I love you?" He finished softly. "Because I do. I never stopped." The waiter appeared, setting down plates I didn't remember ordering. Lucas waited until we were alone. I need to tell you something. Can you listen? 5 minutes? I wanted to refuse, but something in his expression stopped me. 5 minutes. He nodded. My father died 2 weeks ago. I hadn't expected that. I'm sorry. Don't be. Antonio Moretti was not a good man. 3 days before graduation, he showed up and informed me my childhood was over. I was coming to work for him. The way he said work made it clear he meant something else. He was the head of the Moretti crime family. When I turned 18, he decided I'd learn the family business. I stared at him. You're in the Mafia. That's the technical term. His mouth twisted. I tried to tell you. I went to your house the night before graduation to explain everything. But my father's men found me first. They made clear that if I contacted you, you'd pay the price. My hand moved to my throat. He threatened me? He threatened everyone I cared about. Lucas reached across the table, then stopped himself. So I left. Cut all contact. Because the only way to keep you safe was to make you forget me. I didn't forget. I know, I've been protecting you for 10 years, Laura. From a distance. Making sure you were safe, even if I couldn't be there. Ice water settled over me. You've been watching me. Monitoring your safety. I never invaded your privacy. Just made sure the dangers of my world never touched you. Until now. Why? Lucas's expression darkened. Because my father is dead, and I've spent 2 weeks consolidating power. I'm the head of the family now, which means I finally have enough power to protect you properly. He picked up the ring. To bring you home. Home? I laughed bitterly. You're a stranger. You can't think I'd just accept this ring and walk into your world? No. I'm asking you to let me prove I'm still the same person. That the last 10 years only delayed us. And if I say no, something dangerous flashed in his eyes. Then you walk away. But just by being here, you've been seen. My world knows about you. The people who would use you to get to me are already watching. Fear spiked through me. Are you threatening me? No, Tesoro. I'm warning you. The choice isn't walk away or stay. It's stay with my protection, or walk away without it. And unprotected means target. I stood abruptly. This is insane. Laura. He caught my wrist, not rough, but firm. Please, just think about it. Take the ring. Take my number. When you're ready to talk, call me. I looked at his hand on my wrist, his thumb against my pulse. Let go. He released me immediately. I'm sorry. No, you shouldn't have left. Shouldn't have watched me for 10 years. Shouldn't have dragged me into this. My voice broke. Goodbye, Lucas. I made it 3 steps before his voice stopped me. I've waited 10 years, Laura. I can wait longer. But know this. I meant what the ring says. Always. No matter how long it takes. I didn't turn around. Just walked through Vesper with my head high and heart in pieces. The autumn air hit my face. I stood trembling on the sidewalk. The ring was still in my purse. I'd grabbed it without thinking. LM plus LB. Sempre. I hailed a cab and gave my Brooklyn address. My phone buzzed. The men in the gray sedan 3 cars behind you are mine. Making sure you get home safely. Lock your doors tonight. L. I looked in the mirror and saw it. A gray sedan maintaining distance. God help me. I wasn't sure if I felt safer or more terrified. I didn't sleep that night. How could I, knowing Lucas's men were watching my building? I stood at my apartment window until dawn, curtains pulled back slightly, staring down at the gray sedan parked across the street. Around 6 a.m., a black SUV pulled up beside it. The men switched out. Smooth, professional. barely noticeable if you weren't looking for it. A changing of the guard. My phone sat on the counter where I'd left it, Lucas's number glowing accusingly from that single text. I'd typed and deleted a dozen responses. Leave me alone. How dare you? I need time. Are you really outside right now? I sent none of them. Instead, I showered, dressed for work, and pretended everything was normal. The ring sat in my jewelry box, tucked between a pair of pearl earrings my grandmother left me and a tarnished bracelet I never wore. I'd looked at it 3 times already. The gallery where I worked was in Chelsea, a converted warehouse with soaring ceilings and white walls that made art look transcendent. I'd been there for 5 years, working my way up from intern to assistant curator to my current position overseeing contemporary acquisitions. It was everything I'd dreamed of at 18, back when Lucas and I used to skip last period to walk through the Met, making up stories about the people in paintings. You're early. My boss, Patricia, glanced up from her cappuccino as I entered. She was 50-ish, stylish, with the kind of sharp intelligence that made artists either love or fear her. And you look terrible. Late night? Something like that. I hung my coat, avoiding her gaze. Well, try to look alive. We have a potential donor coming in at 11. Big money. Very private. Apparently wants to discuss a major acquisition for his personal collection. My stomach tightened. Did he give a name? Just booked through his assistant. Moretti? Morello? Something Italian. Patricia waved a dismissive hand. Honestly, as long as the check clears, I don't care if his name is Michelangelo. The room tilted slightly. I gripped the desk edge. Moretti. That's it. You know him? No. The lie came automatically. I'll prepare the viewing room. I spent the next 3 hours in careful avoidance, setting up the private gallery space we used for high-value clients while my mind raced. Lucas was coming here, to my workplace, invading another corner of my carefully constructed life. The audacity of it should have made me furious. Instead, I felt something closer to anticipation, which terrified me more than anger ever could. At 10:55, Patricia intercepted me outside the viewing room. He's here. And Laura. She lowered her voice. He's gorgeous. Try not to stare. I straightened my shoulders, smoothed my dress, navy blue, professional, armor, and walked into the room. Lucas stood before a Rothko, hands clasped behind his back, studying the color fields with apparent fascination. He wore a different suit today, navy like my dress, and I wondered if that was intentional. His hair was still damp, as if he'd rushed from a shower. Mr. Moretti, I said, proud of how steady my voice sounded. Welcome to Ashford Gallery. He turned, and for a moment something raw and vulnerable crossed his face. Then the mask slid back into place. Polite, professional, the face of a wealthy collector. Miss Bennett, thank you for seeing me. Of course. Patricia mentioned you're interested in acquiring something for your personal collection? I am. He moved closer, and I caught his scent. Cedar and bergamot, the same cologne he'd worn in high school, and my traitorous memory supplied the exact moment I'd first noticed it. Sitting next to him in calculus, close enough to see the ink stains on his fingers. I'm building a collection at my home. Important pieces, things that matter. What matters to you, Mr. Moretti? His eyes held mine. Things that were lost, that I'm trying to find again. The double meaning wasn't subtle. I looked away first, gesturing to the paintings surrounding us. We have several pieces that might interest you. This Rothko, for instance. I'll take it. I blinked. You haven't heard the price. I don't care about the price. He stepped closer still, close enough that I had to tilt my head back to maintain eye contact. I care about quality, about authenticity, about things that are real in a world full of counterfeits. The Rothko is 3 million. Done. What else do you have?" This was insane. I pulled out my tablet, bringing up the gallery's available inventory, trying to focus on work instead of the way my pulse hammered whenever he moved. "We have a Basquiat that just came in. Show me." I led him through the gallery, maintaining professional distance as I discussed provenance and artistic merit. Lucas listened intently, asking intelligent questions that revealed genuine knowledge of contemporary art. He purchased the Basquiat, one 8 million, and a small Hockney, 600,000, without hesitation. Patricia was going to lose her mind. "Is there anything else?" I asked as we returned to the viewing room. "Actually, yes." Lucas settled into one of the leather chairs positioned for client consultations. "I need a curator for my collection. Someone who understands not just value, but meaning. Someone who can help me build something lasting." My heart stopped. "Mr. Moretti, the salary would be substantial. Twice what you're making here plus benefits. You'd have complete creative control over acquisitions, within reasonable budgets." His eyes never left mine. "And you'd be working from my estate most days, which is quite secure." "Secure? Very." He leaned forward. "Laura, I meant what I said last night. I'm not trying to force you into anything. But I am trying to prove that my world isn't just violence and danger. There's beauty in it too. Art, culture, things worth preserving." He paused. "I need someone I can trust for this. Someone who sees what I see." "And you think that's me? After 10 years? I know it's you. I always knew." Before I could respond, the door opened. A man entered. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a face that looked like it had been broken and reset multiple times. He leaned close to Lucas, whispering something in rapid Italian. Lucas's expression hardened. He stood abruptly. "I need to go. Think about my offer. We'll be in touch regarding the paintings." He paused at the door. "And Laura, don't stay late at the gallery tonight. Go straight home." Then he was gone, the scarred man following. Patricia appeared seconds later, practically vibrating with excitement. Did he just buy 3 paintings? "Laura, do you know what this means for our quarterly numbers?" "Patricia, what do you know about Lucas Moretti?" Her expression shifted, excitement giving way to something warier. "Why?" "He offered me a job." She pulled me into her office, closing the door. "Laura, Moretti money is old New York money. Very old, very private. His father, Antonio, was connected, and I mean connected in ways we don't discuss openly. There were always rumors about the family business extending beyond their legitimate holdings." She studied my face. "But Lucas is different, or so people say. Since taking over 2 weeks ago, he's been cleaning house, severing ties with unsavory associates, legitimizing operations. Some say he's trying to go straight. Some say. Others say he's just better at hiding it." Patricia squeezed my shoulder. "Be careful. Men like that, they're charming, powerful, dangerous. They don't separate business from personal life. Everything becomes transactional." I thought about the ring, the 10 years of watching, the gray sedan outside my apartment. I'm not taking the job. "Good." She smiled with relief. "Now, let's process this sale before he changes his mind." I spent the afternoon handling paperwork, my mind elsewhere. Lucas's warning echoed. "Don't stay late. Go straight home." At 5:30, Patricia left for a dinner meeting. By 6, I was alone in the gallery with one remaining intern who'd earbuds in, cataloging new arrivals in the back room. I should have left. Should have listened to Lucas's warning. But I'd just started reviewing a new portfolio when I heard the front door chime. "We're closed," I called, not looking up. "I know." The voice was unfamiliar, rough, with a thick Eastern European accent. I looked up to find 3 men standing in the gallery's entrance. Not Lucas's polished professionals. These men wore cheap suits that barely contained their bulk. The leader had a shaved head and cold eyes that assessed me like merchandise. "You are Laura Bennett." Not a question. I stood slowly, hand moving toward my phone. "The gallery is closed. You need to leave." "We are not here for art," he smiled, revealing gold teeth. "We are here because you have become interesting to certain people. You were seen with Lucas Moretti last night. Today he visits your workplace. This tells us you are important to him." My blood turned to ice. "I don't know what you're talking about. Please, Miss Bennett, do not insult our intelligence." He moved closer, and the other 2 fanned out, cutting off escape routes. "The Volkov family has questions about Mr. Moretti's recent activities. You will come with us and help us understand what he is planning." "I'm not going anywhere with you." I grabbed my phone, but the leader was faster. He knocked it from my hand, the screen shattering against the concrete floor. "This can be easy or difficult. Your choice." The intern emerged from the back room, saw the situation, and froze. "Laura." "Run," I told him. "Now." He ran. One of the men moved to intercept, but the leader waved him off. "Let him go. We only need her." Rough hands grabbed my arms. I struggled, screaming, but the gallery was located in a converted warehouse district, trendy but isolated after business hours. No one would hear. They were dragging me toward the door when it exploded inward. Lucas entered like a force of nature, flanked by 4 men, including the scarred one from earlier. His face was a mask of cold fury I'd never seen, not even in our worst high school arguments. "Let her go." His voice was quiet, deadly. "Now." The Volkov men released me immediately. The leader raised his hands in mock surrender. "Moretti, we were just having a conversation with your friend." That wasn't a conversation. Lucas moved between us, physically placing himself as a barrier. "That was a mistake. A fatal one if you don't walk out of here in the next 5 seconds. This is neutral territory," the leader protested. "The old rules? There are no old rules, not anymore." Lucas's voice dropped lower. "I am not my father. I don't honor treaties made by a dead man. You came into my city, threatened what's mine, and thought there would be no consequences. What's mine? The possessiveness should have offended me. Instead, I felt strangely grateful. Tell Volkov if he wants war. I'll give him war. But he should know that he'll lose." Lucas smiled, and it was terrifying. "Now get out." They left, but not before the leader shot me a look that promised this wasn't over. The moment they were gone, Lucas turned to me, his hands gentle as they cupped my face. "Are you hurt? Did they touch you?" "I'm fine. Scared, but fine." I was shaking, I realized. "You came. I'll always come." He pulled me against his chest, and I let him, too rattled to maintain distance. I had men watching the gallery. The moment those Volkov idiots showed up, they called me. "Who are the Volkovs?" "Russian mob. My father had dealings with them. Profitable but unstable. I've been trying to sever those ties, establish that the Moretti family operates differently now. They're not happy about losing influence." His arms tightened around me. "They'll use you to get to me if they can. Do you understand now why I need you close? Why protection isn't optional?" I pulled back enough to see his face. "This is your world. Violence and threats and men with gold teeth who kidnap people from their jobs." "Yes," he didn't deny it. "But it's also protection and loyalty and family. And I'm offering you all of that, Laura. Not because I want to control you, but because I can't lose you again. Not to time, not to fear, and certainly not to Volkov's thugs. You're asking me to trust you." I'm asking you to let me keep you safe while you decide if you can trust me." He brushed a strand of hair from my face. "Come home with me tonight. See the estate, meet my people, understand what this life actually looks like. Then choose." I should have said no, should have called the police, filed a report, pretended this was something law enforcement could handle, but I'd seen the coldness in those men's eyes. And I'd seen the way Lucas looked at me, like I was something precious he'd die to protect. "One night," I heard myself say. "I'll come for one night." Relief flooded his face. "That's all I'm asking. Thank you, Tesoro." He made calls while his men secured the gallery. Patricia would find it locked in the morning with a note about a family emergency. My apartment would be watched but empty, and I would be at Lucas Moretti's estate, stepping fully into a world I'd spent 10 years avoiding. The gray sedan was waiting outside. Lucas helped me into the back seat with old-fashioned courtesy, then slid in beside me. As we pulled away from the gallery, from my normal life, I touched the place on my chest where the ring would hang if I chose to wear it. LM plus LB, Sempre. Always had always been the promise. I just hadn't known until now how dangerous forever could be. The drive to Lucas's estate took 40 minutes, heading north from Manhattan into Westchester County. I watched the city lights fade, replaced by tree-lined roads and glimpses of the Hudson River glinting in the moonlight. Lucas sat beside me, close but not touching, his presence somehow both comforting and unsettling. He'd made several calls in Italian, his voice clipped, authoritative, before finally putting his phone away and turning his attention to me. "Tell me about the last 10 years, he said quietly. "I know the facts, where you worked, where you lived, but I don't know you anymore. What you love, what makes you laugh, what keeps you up at night. Besides mob bosses and Russian thugs." I tried for lightness, but my voice cracked. His expression softened. "Besides that." I looked out the window, gathering my thoughts. "After you left, I threw myself into school, graduated top of my class, got into Columbia for art history, worked 3 jobs to pay for it because I was too proud to take my parents' money. They'd wanted me to study something practical. I smiled despite myself. I proved them wrong. Built a career I'm proud of. Small apartment, smaller budget, but it's mine. You always were stubborn. I had a good teacher." The words slipped out before I could stop them, referencing all those times Lucas had pushed me to stand up for myself in high school, to stop apologizing for taking up space. He reached across the seat, his fingers finding mine. I should have pulled away. Instead, I let him hold my hand, his thumb tracing circles on my palm. "Did you?" He hesitated, something uncertain flickering across his face. "Was there anyone else? After me?" "A few dates, nothing that lasted." I glanced at him. Hard to trust people when the person you loved most just disappeared. Pain lanced across his features. "Laura." "What about you?" I interrupted, not ready for another apology. 10 years learning the family business. Any relationships? Arrangements. His jaw tightened. My father tried to marry me off twice to daughters of allied families. Strategic alliances. I refused both times. His eyes found mine in the darkness. "There's only ever been you." The SUV turned onto a private road, marked only by a discreet sign, Proprietà Privata. Security cameras tracked our progress. We passed through iron gates that opened automatically, then wound up a tree-lined drive. The estate emerged from the darkness like something from another century, stone and glass, modern architecture blended with old-world elegance. Lights glowed from tall windows. Gardens stretched into shadows. A fountain caught moonlight in its spray. "Home," Lucas said simply. We entered through a massive oak door into a foyer with marble floors and a chandelier that probably cost more than my student loans. But what struck me wasn't the obvious wealth. It was the art. A genuine Caravaggio hung above the fireplace. Beside it, something that looked suspiciously like a Vermeer. Sculptures that belonged in museums lined the hallway. My father collected aggressively, Lucas said, watching me take it in. He saw art as investment, status symbols. I'm trying to change that, to build a collection that means something. He paused. That's where you come in, if you'll help me. A woman appeared from a side corridor, late 50s, elegantly dressed, with sharp eyes that assessed me instantly. She spoke rapid Italian to Lucas, who responded in kind before switching to English. Laura, this is Sophia. She manages the household. Sophia, this is Laura Bennett. She'll be staying in the East Wing guest suite. Sophia's expression warmed marginally. Welcome, Miss Bennett. I've prepared the blue room. Would you like me to show you up? Actually, Lucas interjected, I thought Laura might join me for a late dinner first, unless you're too tired. I should have been exhausted. Instead, I felt wired, every nerve ending alive. Dinner sounds good. He led me through the house to a smaller dining room. Intimate, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the gardens. A table was already set for two, candles flickering. You were very sure I'd come, I observed. I was very hopeful. He held out a chair for me. And prepared for disappointment if you didn't. Sophia brought out courses I didn't recognize, each more exquisite than the last. Lucas poured wine for himself, sparkling water for me, and we fell into conversation that felt dangerously like our old rhythm. He asked about my favorite exhibitions, artists I'd discovered. I asked about the Caravaggio, and he lit up explaining its provenance. For stretches of minutes, I could almost forget the bodyguards outside, the threats, the 10 years between us. Almost pretend we were just two people who'd found their way back to each other. Then his phone buzzed. His expression hardened as he read the message. Problem? I asked. The Volkovs are making noise, demanding compensation for what they call my disrespect earlier. He set the phone aside. Nothing you need to worry about. Lucas, I can't just ignore that men with guns are arguing over me like property. You're not property. His voice sharpened. You're under my protection. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm sitting, it feels like I've traded one prison for another. A nicer prison. But still, you can leave any time. He stood abruptly, pacing to the window. I've said that from the beginning. I won't hold you here against your will. But if I leave, I'm vulnerable. You've made that clear. He turned, and in the candlelight I saw the boy I'd loved warring with the man he'd become. I'm trying to protect you. Is that so terrible? It is when you created the danger in the first place. I stood too, facing him across the table. The Volkovs only care about me because you made me visible, because you couldn't just let me go 10 years ago and actually leave me alone. I couldn't. Raw honesty cracked through his composure. Do you think I didn't try? The first year I convinced myself you'd be better off without me. That you'd move on, find someone who could give you a normal life. His hands clenched. But I couldn't stop checking on you, making sure you were safe. And the more I watched, the more I realized I was fooling myself. You were never going to be just a memory I could bury. So you decided to upend my life instead? I decided to fight for what I should have fought for 10 years ago. He moved around the table toward me. My father told me I couldn't have both, you and this life. That love was weakness in our world. I believed him because I was 18 and terrified. He stopped inches away. But I'm not 18 anymore, and I've spent a decade building enough power that no one, not the Volkovs, not rival families, not anyone, can take you from me. I'm not a possession to be protected. No. You're the only real thing in my life. His hand came up, cupping my cheek. Everything else, the money, the power, the empire, it's all just noise. You're what matters. I should have stepped back, should have maintained the distance that kept me safe. Instead, I leaned into his touch, my eyes closing. "This is insane," I whispered. "I know." His forehead rested against mine. "But tell me you don't feel it too. Tell me the last 10 years erased what we had." I couldn't, because standing here, his breath warm against my face, I felt 17 again, utterly, terrifyingly in love with Lucas Moretti. "I'm scared," I admitted, "of this world, of what loving you means. I'm scared too." His thumb brushed my cheekbone. "Of failing you again, of not being strong enough to keep you safe." He pulled back just enough to meet my eyes. "But I'd rather be scared with you than empty without you." The kiss happened inevitably, like a wave finally reaching shore. His lips found mine with a gentleness that contrasted sharply with everything else about this night. I kissed him back, 10 years of longing and grief and anger pouring into the connection. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Lucas rested his forehead against mine again. "Stay," he whispered. "Not just tonight. Stay and let me prove that this can work, that we can build something real even in this world." Before I could answer, the dining room door burst open. The scarred man from earlier, Lucas' security chief, I realized, stood there with urgency written across his features. "Boss, we have a situation. The Volkovs just hit one of our warehouses. 3 men down." Lucas's expression transformed instantly, all softness vanishing, replaced by cold command. "Casualties? 2 critical, 1 stable. Paramedics are on scene. Lock down the estate, full security protocols." Lucas turned to me. "Sophia will take you to your room. Don't leave the East Wing until I come for you." "Lucas, please." He caught my hand, squeezed once. "Trust me to handle this." Then he was gone, striding out with his security chief, leaving me alone with the remains of dinner and the taste of him still on my lips. Sophia appeared moments later, her professional mask back in place. "This way, Miss Bennett." The blue room was stunning, all soft colors and luxury, with a 4-poster bed and windows overlooking the gardens. A nightgown had been laid out, and I found a bathroom stocked with expensive toiletries. "There's a panic button beside the bed," Sophia said, pointing to a discreet red switch. "Press it if you need anything or if anyone tries to enter who isn't Lucas or myself." "This happens often? The lockdowns?" Something sad crossed her face. "More than it should. But Lucas is trying to change that. He's not his father." "Everyone keeps saying that." "Because it's true. Antonio Moretti was a cruel man who ruled through fear. Lucas rules through loyalty." She paused at the door. "He spent 10 years preparing to bring you home, Miss Bennett. Whatever you think of this world, know that you're the reason he's trying to make it better." After she left, I stood at the window, watching security personnel patrol the grounds. Somewhere in this house, Lucas was dealing with violence and consequences I barely understood. I thought about the ring, still in my purse, about his kiss, and the way my heart had recognized him instantly despite a decade apart, about the impossible choice he was asking me to make. My phone buzzed. A text from Lucas. "We're handling it. You're safe. Sleep if you can. I'll see you in the morning. L." I crawled into bed still wearing my clothes, too wired to change. But eventually exhaustion won, pulling me under into dreams of dark-haired boys and antique shops and promises written in platinum. When I woke, sunlight was streaming through unfamiliar windows. For a moment, I didn't remember where I was. Then it all came rushing back. I was in Lucas Moretti's home, in his world. And despite every rational objection, Part of me didn't want to leave. A knock at the door made me jump. "Come in." Lucas entered carrying a tray with coffee and pastries. He looked exhausted, shadows under his eyes, his clothes rumpled, but he smiled when he saw me awake. "Good morning, Tesoro." He set the tray on a side table. "I'm sorry about last night. Not exactly the romantic evening I'd planned. Is everyone okay? Your men? 2 will recover. The 3rd..." His jaw tightened. "He didn't make it." "I'm so sorry. It's the life we chose." But pain flickered beneath the stoic acceptance. "The Volkovs are sending a message that they won't be pushed out quietly." "What happens now?" He sat on the edge of the bed, careful to maintain respectful distance. "Now I send a message back. Not with violence, not yet. But making it clear that I won't be intimidated." He met my eyes. "And I need to know if you're with me, Laura. Because I can protect you better if you're here than if you're exposed in the city." "You're asking me to move in? After one night?" "I'm asking you to trust me long enough to see that this can work. That we can work." He reached for my hand. "Take the curator position. Live here where you're safe. Let me prove that I'm still the man you loved. Just older, and hopefully wiser." Every logical part of my brain screamed this was too fast, too dangerous, too insane. But my heart, my traitorous, hopeful heart, remembered the boy who'd held me after my grandmother died, who'd taught me to see beauty in unexpected places, who'd looked at me like I was the most important thing in his world. That boy was still in there, beneath the scars and power. I'd seen him last night. "Okay," I heard myself say. "I'll stay, for now. But Lucas..." I squeezed his hand. "If this becomes something I can't live with, if your world swallows who I am, I'm gone. Understood?" Relief and joy transformed his face. "Understood." He lifted my hand to his lips. "Thank you for giving me this chance." He left to let me dress, promising to give me a full tour of the estate and introduce me to his staff. As I showered and changed into clothes someone had thoughtfully provided, perfectly my size, which should have been creepy but somehow felt caring, I caught sight of myself in the mirror. I looked different. Softer somehow, despite everything. Like something in me had finally stopped fighting and started hoping. My phone sat on the nightstand. I had missed calls from Patricia, texts from friends. The outside world, waiting. I sent a simple message to my boss. "Taking personal leave. I'll explain soon. Sorry for the short notice." Then I turned off my phone and walked downstairs to find Lucas. Whatever came next, whatever dangers this choice invited, I was choosing it. Choosing him. Choosing to believe that love could survive even in the darkest corners of his world. The ring was still in my purse. But maybe, soon, it would be on my finger where it belonged. The estate felt different in daylight. Less imposing, more like an actual home. Lucas led me through rooms filled with morning sun, a library with walls of leather-bound books, a conservatory where orchids bloomed in impossible colors, a gallery where my professional eye immediately cataloged pieces worth millions. "This is what I want your help with," he said, gesturing to the collection. My father acquired aggressively but without vision. Half these pieces don't belong together. I want to build something cohesive, something that tells a story. I moved closer to examine a small Monet. Genuine. Perfectly preserved. "What story do you want to tell?" "Redemption, maybe. Beauty surviving darkness." He stood beside me. "Or maybe just that some things are worth fighting for." We were interrupted by Sophia announcing breakfast was ready. In the bright breakfast room, I met more of Lucas's world. His head of security, Marco, the scarred man who'd burst in last night. His financial advisor, Angela, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s. His younger sister, Julia, who surprised me most. "So you're the famous Laura," Julia said, studying me with open curiosity. She was mid-20s, beautiful, with Lucas's dark eyes. "He's talked about you for years. I was beginning to think you were imaginary." "Julia," Lucas warned. "What? It's true." She grinned at me. "He kept your photo in his wallet through everything, even when Papa found it and threw a fit." Heat crept up my neck. "He did?" "Still do," Lucas admitted, pulling out his wallet. Inside, worn and creased, was a photo from junior prom, the two of us laughing at something, his arm around my waist. Something in my chest cracked open. He'd carried me through everything. After breakfast, Lucas was pulled into meetings. The Volkov situation required immediate attention. Marco assigned me a bodyguard, a quiet man named David who followed at a discreet distance as Sophia showed me the rest of the estate. "The east wing will be yours," Sophia explained. "Bedroom, office, private sitting room. Lucas had it renovated last week." She paused meaningfully. "He's been preparing for your arrival. He couldn't have known I'd agree to stay. He hoped." She led me into what would be my office, floor-to-ceiling windows, a desk I recognized as a genuine Regency piece, and walls waiting for art. "He's not his father," she said again, softer this time. "Antonio would have simply taken what he wanted. Lucas is trying to do this right." I spent the afternoon exploring, my mind spinning. This could be my life. Curating an incredible collection, living in beauty, with a man who'd waited 10 years. But at what cost? My phone, turned back on, exploded with messages. Patricia, worried. Friends, confused, and one that made my blood freeze. Pretty house. Shame if something happened to it. V. The Volkovs. Somehow they'd gotten my number. I found Lucas in his study, surrounded by maps and documents. His expression darkened when I showed him the text. "They're escalating." He made a call, issued orders in Italian. "I'm doubling estate security, and Laura..." He pulled me close. "I need you to stay inside until this is resolved. Please." "For how long?" "Days, maybe a week." He saw my expression. "I know it's not ideal, but they're threatening you to get to me. I can't risk..." "I know." I cut him off. "I understand. I'm just not used to being trapped." "You're not trapped. You're protected." But even as he said it, the distinction felt thin. That night, I lay in my new bed, far more comfortable than my apartment mattress, and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere in the house, Lucas was working late. David was posted outside my door. The estate was locked down tight, safe, but not free. I must have fallen asleep because I woke to darkness and someone in my room. My hand shot toward the panic button, but a familiar voice stopped me. "It's just me, Tesoro. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to wake you." Lucas stood by the window, still dressed, his silhouette limned by moonlight. I sat up, pulling the covers around me. "Can't sleep?" I asked. "Too much on my mind." He turned. "I keep thinking about what you said, about creating the danger I'm now protecting you from. You're right. This is my fault. That's not what I meant, but it's true." He moved closer, sitting carefully on the edge of my bed. "The Volkovs wouldn't know you exist if I'd just left you alone. You'd be in your apartment, safe, living your life." His voice roughened. "Sometimes I think the loving thing would have been to let you go. To stay away." I reached for his hand. "Do you want to know what I think? I think I've spent 10 years half alive, going through motions, building a career, but never really feeling anything, because the person I loved most just vanished. I squeezed his fingers. I'm terrified of your world, Lucas. But I'm more terrified of going back to that emptiness. He lifted my hand to his lips, kissing my knuckles. I don't deserve you. Probably not. I smiled. But you're stuck with me anyway. He stood to leave, but I caught his hand. Stay. Just for a while. I don't want to be alone. Something vulnerable crossed his face. Are you sure? I nodded, shifting to make room. He kicked off his shoes and lay beside me, fully clothed, careful not to crowd me. I curled against his side, my head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Tell me about the last 10 years, I whispered. Not the business. You. What you've lost. What you've survived. He was quiet so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, I lost my mother 3 years ago. Cancer. She never forgave my father for forcing me into this life. I'm so sorry. She would have loved seeing you again. She always said you were the daughter she wished she'd had. His arm tightened around me. I lost friends who couldn't understand why I refused to be as ruthless as my father. Lost parts of myself I'm still trying to find again. He paused. But I survived. Because I had to. Because somewhere you were out there, and I refused to become someone you couldn't love. Tears slipped down my cheeks. Lucas. Don't cry, Tesoro. He wiped my tears gently. I'm here now. We're here. That's what matters. I fell asleep in his arms, safer than I'd felt in years. The next few days settled into routine. Mornings with Lucas, reviewing the collection, discussing acquisitions. Afternoons working in my new office, researching pieces, building a vision. Evenings together. Sometimes formal dinners, sometimes casual meals in the kitchen where Lucas proved surprisingly capable with pasta. But underneath the domesticity, tension simmered. The Volkovs were quiet, which worried Lucas more than threats. His men were on high alert, and I was still confined to the estate. On the 4th day, Julia found me in the library. You look like you're going stir-crazy. That obvious? Lucas is the same way when he's trapped inside too long. Come on. She grabbed my hand. I know a way out that doesn't technically break his rules. She led me to the conservatory, which opened onto a large greenhouse. Beyond that, I discovered an incredible garden, hedges shaped into a maze, fountains, and in the center, a small art studio. Lucas set this up for you, Julia said. Thought you might want a space to work outside the house without technically leaving the grounds. The studio was perfect. Natural light, a workbench, supplies for mounting and framing. And on the easel, a note in Lucas's handwriting. For when the walls close in. L. I sank onto the stool, overwhelmed. He'd thought of everything. He really loves you, Julia said softly. I've never seen him like this with anyone. After Papa died, he became so cold, so focused. But with you, she smiled. He's alive again. That evening, I found Lucas in his study. He looked up when I entered, wariness in his eyes, probably expecting complaints about confinement. Instead, I circled his desk, took his face in my hands, and kissed him thoroughly. When I pulled back, he looked dazed. What was that for? The studio. For understanding. For trying. I kissed him again. Thank you. His hands found my waist, pulling me closer. I want you happy, Laura. Even here. Especially here. I am happy. Scared but happy. I traced his jaw. Is that strange? No stranger than me falling in love at 17 and never falling out. His thumb brushed my lower lip. Stay tonight. In my room. I'm not asking for anything except your presence. I just want to hold you. I nodded, my heart racing. Okay. His room was surprisingly simple, less opulent than I'd expected. A large bed, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river, and beside the bed, a nightstand with a framed photo. The prom picture from his wallet. "You kept it by your bed," I whispered. Every night. Reminded me what I was working toward. He pulled me close. Worth the wait. We lay together in the darkness, talking quietly about everything and nothing. He told me about his plans to legitimize more of the family business. I told him about artists I wanted to feature in his collection. His fingers traced patterns on my arm. My hand rested over his heart. "I love you," he said suddenly. "I need you to know that. Whatever happens, however this ends, I love you. I always have. I love you too." The admission came easier than I'd expected. I'm terrified of it, but I do. He kissed me then, deep, claiming, promising everything neither of us could guarantee. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. "I'm going to marry you," he whispered. "When this is over, when you're safe, I'm going to put that ring on your finger properly and make you mine in every way that matters." "That's very presumptuous, Mr. Moretti." "Is it? Tell me you don't want the same thing." I couldn't, because I did. God help me, I wanted forever with this man. We fell asleep tangled together, and for the first time in 10 years, neither of us dreamed of what we'd lost, only what we might build. I woke to Lucas already gone. A note on his pillow. "Meeting with the Volkovs. Marco is outside if you need anything. I'll be back by lunch. Stay safe. L. The Volkovs." My stomach clenched. I dressed quickly, finding Marco in the hallway. "Where did he go?" "Neutral ground, downtown. He's negotiating a truce." Marco's expression was carefully neutral. "He didn't want to worry you." "I'm already worried." I paced. How dangerous is this meeting? Lucas has done this before. He knows how to handle them. But something in Marco's tone suggested even he was concerned. The morning dragged. I tried to work, to focus on cataloging the collection, but my mind stayed with Lucas, meeting with dangerous men, negotiating for our safety. Noon came and went. No Lucas. Marco's phone rang constantly, low conversations in Italian that grew increasingly tense. At 2, Julia found me. "Marco wants you in the safe room. Now." "What? Why?" "The meeting went bad. The Volkovs are threatening retaliation. Until Lucas is back." Gunfire erupted somewhere in the house. Close. Too close. Marco burst into the room. "They breached the perimeter. Move." He hustled us through a hidden door in the library into a reinforced room below ground. David and 2 other guards joined us. The steel door locked with a heavy clang. "What about Lucas?" I demanded. "He's on his way. The Volkovs sent a team to grab you while he was downtown. They planned this." Marco's jaw was tight. "He's going to be—" More gunfire, muffled by the walls. Shouting. An explosion that shook dust from the ceiling. Julia grabbed my hand. "It'll be okay. Lucas will handle this." I prayed she was right. Because if something happened to him while protecting me, I'd never forgive myself. We huddled in the safe room for what felt like hours, but was probably only 30 minutes. The sounds of violence filtered through the reinforced walls. Gunfire, shouting, the sharp crack of something exploding. Each sound made me flinch, imagining Lucas in the middle of it. Julia kept talking, trying to distract me with stories about Lucas as a teenager, but I couldn't focus. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Finally, Marco's phone buzzed. He answered in Italian, listened, then visibly relaxed. "It's over. Lucas secured the house. We can go up." The relief nearly knocked me over. "Is he hurt?" He didn't say. Marco opened the heavy door. But he's asking for you. I took the stairs 2 at a time, emerging into chaos. The library was destroyed, bullet holes in the walls, furniture overturned, blood on the marble floor. My stomach turned, but I kept moving. I found Lucas in the entrance hall, surrounded by his men. His shirt was torn, blood on his knuckles, a cut above his eyebrow. But he was alive, standing, giving orders with that cold authority I was beginning to recognize. "Lucas!" He turned, and his expression transformed, all hardness melting into relief. He crossed to me in 3 strides, pulling me against him despite the blood and dirt. "You're safe." He breathed into my hair. "Thank God." "Are you hurt?" I pulled back, examining the cut. "You're bleeding." "It's nothing. Superficial." His hands cupped my face. "The Volkovs sent a team. 6 men. We were ready." "And them?" Something dark crossed his face. "They won't be threatening you again." I understood what he wasn't saying. Men had died today, because of me, because Lucas had chosen to protect me. The weight of it was crushing. "I need to get you out of here," Lucas said, reading my expression. "Somewhere the blood isn't visible. Come on." He led me upstairs to his room, locking the door behind us. Only then did his composure crack slightly. He leaned against the door, eyes closed, exhaling slowly. "I thought I'd planned for everything," he said quietly. "Extra security, protocols, backup teams. But when Marco called and said they'd breached, his voice roughened. I've never driven that fast in my life. You could have been killed. I wasn't going to let them take you." He opened his eyes, and the raw emotion there stole my breath. "I don't care what it costs, Laura. You're worth every risk." "But I'm not." The words burst out. "Lucas, people died today. Your house is destroyed. And for what? Because you love me? Because you can't let go of something from 10 years ago? It's not just love." He moved toward me. "It's you. The person you are. The light you bring to my dark world. Do you know what my life was before you came back? Empty. Mechanical. I ran an empire, made decisions, survived. But I wasn't living." He caught my hands. "You make me want to be better, to build something beyond violence and fear. I can't be your redemption, Lucas. That's too much pressure. You're not my redemption. You're my reason." He kissed my forehead. "There's a difference." A knock interrupted us. Marco entered, his expression grim. "Boss, we have a problem. One of the Volkov men survived. He's demanding to speak with you." Lucas's jaw tightened. "Where is he?" "Secured in the wine cellar. He's injured but talking. Says he has information you'll want. I'll be down in 5 minutes." Lucas waited until Marco left before turning back to me. "Stay here. Lock the door. I need to handle this." "What are you going to do to him?" "Find out who ordered the attack and why." His expression was unreadable. "What happens after that depends on what he tells me." "You're going to kill him." "Maybe." He didn't lie or soften it. "If he's a threat, if he knows too much about you, if leaving him alive puts you in danger, yes." The casual acknowledgement of murder should have horrified me. Instead, I felt a sick sort of understanding. This was his world. These were the choices he made to survive it. "Don't watch," he said softly. "Don't think about it. Just know that everything I do is to keep you safe." After he left, I stood alone in his room, trembling. I could leave now. Call the police, expose everything, walk away from this insanity. But the thought of never seeing Lucas again hurt worse than staying. I was in love with a man who killed to protect me. What did that make me? An hour later, Lucas returned. He'd showered and changed, no blood, no evidence of violence. But exhaustion lined his face. "It's done," he said simply. "The Volkovs were acting on orders from their boss in Brighton Beach. He saw you as leverage, kidnap you, force me to give up territory." "And the man you questioned? He's alive. I sent him back to his boss with a message. Leave what's mine alone or face consequences." Lucas poured himself whiskey. "This isn't over, Laura. The Volkov family won't accept this humiliation quietly. There will be retaliation. So what do? We go to war." He downed the whiskey. "Or we negotiate from a position of strength. Show them I have resources they can't match, allies they can't fight." "How do you do that?" He looked at me, something calculating in his gaze. "There's a fundraiser tomorrow night. The mayor's ball, all of New York's elite, political power, legitimate business leaders. My father never attended, believed it was beneath him. But I've been building relationships there for 2 years. You want to go to a ball while the Russian mob is threatening us? I want to show them we're not hiding, that I have connections they can't touch." He set down his glass. "And I want you there with me, as my partner, not hidden away like a secret. Lucas, I know it's asking a lot, but if the city's power structure sees us together, sees that I'm not just Antonio Moretti's son, but someone building a legitimate legacy, it changes the game." He moved closer. "It tells the Volkovs that coming after you means coming after everyone I'm connected to. Makes you too expensive a target." The logic was sound, even if the execution terrified me. "I don't have anything to wear to a mayor's ball." A small smile. I might have anticipated that. He led me to a room I hadn't seen yet, a dressing room with racks of gowns, designer labels, each one stunning. "Pick whichever you want. Sophia will help with alterations if needed." I ran my fingers over silk and satin, overwhelmed. "When did you do this?" "The day after you agreed to stay. I wanted you to have choices." He paused. "In everything, Laura. I never want you to feel trapped. Even though I was. Even though leaving meant danger. But the gesture touched me anyway. I chose a midnight blue gown, elegant, sophisticated, with just enough drama to make a statement. Sophia appeared with jewelry, a diamond necklace that probably cost more than my old apartment. "You'll be stunning," Lucas said, watching me hold the dress against myself. "They won't be able to look away. That's what worries me." The next evening, I stood before the mirror barely recognizing myself. The gown fit perfectly. The diamonds caught the light. My hair was styled in soft waves. I looked like someone who belonged in Lucas's world. The illusion was so complete I almost believed it. Lucas appeared in the doorway, devastating in a tuxedo, and stopped short. "Laura." My name was almost reverent. "You're breathtaking. You clean up pretty well yourself." He crossed to me, producing a familiar velvet box. "Before we go, there's something I want to ask properly this time." My heart stopped as he opened it. The Art Deco ring, cleaned and polished, the diamond catching light like captured stars. "Laura Bennett, I know the timing is terrible. I know you're scared and uncertain and probably questioning everything." He took my hand. "But I also know I've loved you since I was 17, that I spent 10 years becoming someone worthy of you, that I will spend the rest of my life protecting you, cherishing you, fighting for you." He held my gaze. "Will you marry me?" Tears blurred my vision. "Lucas, I'm not asking you to answer tonight, just to wear the ring, to let people see that you're mine and I'm yours, to make it clear that anyone who threatens you is threatening my future wife." His voice softened. "But someday, when this is over and you feel safe, I hope you'll say yes for real." I looked at the ring, at his hopeful expression, at the life he was offering, beautiful and dangerous in equal measure. "Okay," I whispered. "I'll wear it tonight." He slid it onto my finger, and despite everything, it felt right, like coming home. The mayor's ball was held at the plaza, the grand ballroom glittering with chandeliers and New York's elite. We arrived fashionably late, making an entrance that turned heads. I felt exposed under so many stares, but Lucas's hand at the small of my back steadied me. "You're doing perfectly," he murmured. We worked the room like a team. Lucas introduced me as his fiancé and personal art curator, and I found myself discussing collections with museum directors and private collectors. Several people mentioned they'd love to commission work through me. "You're building your own reputation," Lucas said proudly, separate from mine but complementary. The mayor himself approached, greeting Lucas warmly. "Moretti, glad you could make it. And who is this lovely woman?" "My fiancée, Laura Bennett. She's a curator specializing in contemporary acquisitions." We chatted about the city's art initiatives, and I realized Lucas had been right. Being seen here, as part of legitimate society, changed how people viewed him. He wasn't just a mob boss's son. He was a philanthropist, a collector, a businessman. Then I saw them across the room. Two men in ill-fitting tuxedos, watching us with cold calculation. Russian, I'd bet anything. Lucas noticed my tension. They're just watching. They won't try anything here. Too public. But as the evening progressed, I felt their eyes tracking us. A constant reminder that despite the glittering facade, danger lurked just beneath the surface. During dinner, Lucas leaned close. "After tonight, I'm meeting with Mikhail Volkov directly, negotiating an end to this." "Is that safe?" "Safer than ongoing warfare." He squeezed my hand under the table. "But I need you to promise me something. If anything happens to me..." "Don't." I cut him off. "Don't talk like that. Laura, I need to know you'll be taken care of. I've arranged everything. Accounts in your name, property, protections. Marco will ensure you're safe. I don't want your money. I want you." His expression softened. "And I want forever with you. But in case I can't give you that, I want you to have everything else." The rest of the dinner passed in a blur. When we finally left, the Russian men were gone, but the threat lingered. Back at the estate, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming. Something that would force an impossible choice. Lucas must have sensed it too, because he held me tighter that night, his arms wrapped around me like he could shield me from the future. "Whatever happens," he whispered into the darkness, "know that loving you was the best decision I ever made, even if it costs me everything." I pressed closer, memorizing the steady beat of his heart, the warmth of his skin, the way he smelled like cedar and home. "I love you," I said. "Don't you dare leave me again. Never." His voice was fierce. Not willingly, not ever. But even as he made the promise, I felt the shadow of tomorrow waiting, the meeting with Volkov, the negotiation that could end in peace or bloodshed. All I could do was hold Lucas tighter and pray we'd both survive what came next. The morning of the meeting arrived too quickly. I woke to find Lucas already dressed, standing at the window watching dawn break over the river. His shoulders were tense, his hands clasped behind his back, a warrior preparing for battle. "You're really going through with this," I said softly. He turned, his expression softening when he saw me. "I have to. It's the only way to end this without more bloodshed." He crossed to the bed, sitting beside me. "Mikhail Volkov is old school. He respects strength and directness. If I can convince him that peace benefits us both, he'll listen. And if you can't, then we deal with the alternative." His hand found mine, fingers intertwining with the ring he'd placed there. But I'm fighting for this, Laura. For us. For a future where you don't have to live in fear. After he left with Marco and 3 other guards, the estate felt oppressively quiet. Julia tried to distract me with conversation, but I couldn't focus. Every minute felt like an hour. At noon, my phone rang. Lucas. Relief flooded through me. How did it go? Better than expected. His voice was cautious. Volkov's willing to negotiate, but he has conditions. What kind of conditions? A pause. He wants to meet you. My blood went cold. What? Why? He says he needs to understand why you're worth the trouble. Why I'm willing to risk everything. Lucas's voice tightened. I told him no, but he's insisting. Says without meeting you, there's no deal. Then I'll meet him. Absolutely not. It's too dangerous. Lucas, if meeting me ends this, if it keeps you safe, I'll do it. My grip tightened on the phone. Where and when? Another pause, longer this time. Tonight. His restaurant in Brighton Beach. Neutral ground, public place. I'll be there the entire time. Okay. My voice was steadier than I felt. I'll do it. Brighton Beach felt like a different country. Russian signs, Cyrillic letters, the scent of smoked fish and black bread. The restaurant Volkov had chosen was surprisingly elegant. All dark wood and white tablecloths, classical music playing softly. Lucas hadn't let go of my hand since we left the car. His tension was palpable, his men positioned strategically throughout the restaurant. Marco stood near the door, David by the kitchen. 2 others I didn't recognize sat at the bar. Remember, Lucas murmured as we were led to a private room in the back. Don't show fear. Volkov respects strength. And if anything feels wrong, anything at all, you leave. I don't care about the deal. The private room was intimate. 1 table, soft lighting, a single window overlooking the street. And seated at the table, a man in his 60s with silver hair and eyes like chips of ice. Mikhail Volkov stood as we entered, old-fashioned courtesy that felt incongruous with his reputation. Mr. Moretti. And this must be the famous Laura Bennett. His English was heavily accented but clear. Please sit. Lucas held my chair before taking his own, positioning himself between Volkov and me. The older man noticed and smiled slightly. Protective? Good. A man should protect what he values. Volkov poured vodka into 3 glasses. But first, let us toast to negotiations conducted in civility. Lucas didn't drink, and neither did I. Volkov noticed that too, his expression amused. Cautious as well. Also good. He set down his glass. So, Miss Bennett, tell me, what makes you special? Why does Lucas Moretti, a man who could have anyone, risk war for you? I met his gaze directly, remembering Lucas's advice about showing strength. I don't claim to be special. I'm just someone he loves. Someone who loves him back. Love. Volkov said the word like it was foreign. In our world, love is weakness, a vulnerability enemies exploit. Or it's the reason we fight harder, I countered. The thing worth protecting when nothing else matters. Something shifted in Volkov's expression. Respect, maybe, or recognition. You have courage. I can see why he chose you. He turned to Lucas. Your father would have called you fool. Would have eliminated the threat. He nodded toward me. Rather than risk exposure. I'm not my father. Lucas's voice was steel. No, you are not. Volkov leaned back. Antonio was brutal but predictable. You are something more dangerous, a man with principles willing to defend them. This makes you unpredictable. He paused. I have lost men trying to move against you. You have cost me money, territory, respect. Why should I make peace? Because continuing costs more, Lucas said. We can bleed each other for years, or we can divide the city properly. You take Brighton Beach, Sheepshead Bay. I won't challenge your operations there. I keep Manhattan, Queens. Clear boundaries, no interference. And the disputed territories? We split them. 60-40 your favor, as acknowledgement that my father's agreements were unfair. Volkov's eyebrows rose. You would concede advantage? I would concede what's right. My father built his empire on force and fear. I'm building mine on respect and fair dealing. Lucas's hand found mine under the table. I want a legacy my children won't be ashamed of. Children, the word hung in the air, and I felt Volkov's gaze shift to our joined hands, to the ring on my finger. You plan family with her. I plan everything with her. Lucas's voice was firm, which is why peace matters, why I'm willing to negotiate rather than fight. Volkov was quiet for a long moment, studying us both. Then he sighed, suddenly looking his age. I had a wife once. Loved her more than power, more than money. She died because of this life. Caught in crossfire meant for me. Pain flickered across his face. I have spent 40 years trying to fill that emptiness with empire. It does not fill. He stood, and Lucas tensed, ready to react, but Volkov simply extended his hand. We have agreement. Territory as you proposed. No interference in each other's operations. And Lucas... His grip tightened. Protect her better than I protected mine. Do not let this world take her from you. Relief washed through me so intensely I felt dizzy. It was over. The threat, the war, the constant fear, over. Lucas shook Volkov's hand firmly. You have my word. We left the restaurant into cool evening air, and I finally felt like I could breathe. Lucas pulled me close, his forehead resting against mine. It's done. You're safe. We're safe. Thanks to you. I cupped his face. You made peace instead of war. Thanks to us. He kissed me softly. Volkov saw what I've known all along, that you're worth more than any empire. Back at the estate, Julia was waiting with champagne, celebrating the news. Lucas's men relaxed visibly, tension draining from the house. That night, alone in Lucas's room, he pulled me close. I meant what I told Volkov. About children, about the future. But only if you want that, Laura. Only if you choose this life. I looked at the ring on my finger, then at the man who'd waited 10 years for me, who'd fought to make his world safe enough to share, who loved me enough to let me choose. I already chose, I said softly. The night I agreed to stay, I just didn't realize it yet. His eyes searched mine. Are you sure? Because once we're married, once this becomes permanent. I'm sure. I kissed him, putting everything I felt into it. I love you, Lucas Moretti. The boy you were and the man you've become. I want the future we planned at 17. Finally. Joy transformed his face. Then marry me. Really marry me, not just for show. Yes. The word came easily, finally. Yes, I'll marry you. He kissed me then, deep and claiming, his hands gentle as they pulled me closer. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his smile was radiant. I'm going to make you so happy, he promised. Every single day, I'm going to prove you made the right choice. That we married 3 weeks later in a small ceremony on the estate. Just family and close friends. Julia cried through the entire thing. Marco smiled, which I'd never seen before. And Lucas looked at me like I was every dream he'd ever had coming true. I wore white, simple and elegant, with the ring he'd bought at 17 on my finger where it belonged. When he slid the matching wedding band beside it, I felt the last 10 years finally complete, finally whole. I've waited years for this. he whispered during our first dance. Years to call you mine in every way. I've been yours since I was 17, I admitted. I just took the long way back. In the months that followed, I built my reputation as a curator, working with Lucas's collection, but also taking outside clients. The gallery Patricia directed sent referrals. Museum curators asked my opinion. I was becoming someone respected in my own right, not just Lucas Moretti's wife, but Laura Bennett Moretti, expert in contemporary art. Lucas kept his promise to Volkov. Clear territories, no interference. The peace held. And slowly, he transformed the Moretti empire into something closer to legitimate. Not perfect, not entirely clean, but better. Moving toward the light. We had challenges, moments when his world's darkness crept too close, when I questioned if I'd made the right choice. But Lucas was always there, steady and certain, reminding me why we'd fought for this. 6 months after the wedding, I found him in his study late at night, staring at paperwork with exhausted frustration. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Victor, my father's old financial advisor. I've been going through his records, and something doesn't add up." He rubbed his face. "Money's missing from accounts my father controlled. A lot of it." "How much?" "Millions. Moved systematically over the past 5 years." His jaw tightened. "I think Victor was embezzling, and I think—" He stopped, expression darkening. "I think he might have been working with someone." "Working with who?" Lucas looked up, and I saw real fear in his eyes for the first time. "I think Victor killed my father, made it look like natural causes. The revelation sent us down a dangerous path, investigating Victor, uncovering a conspiracy that went deeper than either of us imagined. Victor had been selling information to rivals, orchestrating attacks, positioning himself to take over after Antonio's death. What he hadn't counted on was Lucas's intelligence, or my connections in the art world that helped trace laundered money through gallery sales and auction houses. Together, we built the case. Together, we exposed the betrayal. And when Victor finally realized he'd been caught, when he tried one last desperate move against us, it was my quick thinking that saved Lucas's life, noticing the poisoned wine, stopping him from drinking. The authorities handled Victor's arrest, legitimate charges of fraud and conspiracy to commit murder. Lucas had finally moved far enough toward legitimacy that involving police was possible. 1 year after our wedding, I stood in the gallery Lucas and I had built together, a museum-quality space showcasing the collection we'd curated. Pieces that told a story of redemption, of beauty surviving darkness, of hope persisting. Lucas found me there, wrapping his arms around me from behind, his hand resting over my still flat stomach where our first child grew. "Thinking about anything in particular?" he murmured. "About how far we've come, about the boy who bought me a ring at 17 and the man who finally gave it to me at 28. I turned in his arms. "About how grateful I am for mistaken texts and second chances." He smiled, that rare full smile I'd spent years missing. "No mistakes to sorrow. Just destiny taking the long way around. Do you ever regret it? The path we took to get here?" "I regret the time we lost. The years apart." His hand tightened on my waist. "But not the journey. It made us who we are, made me someone worthy of you." "You were always worthy, Lucas. Maybe." He kissed my forehead. "But I'm grateful for the chance to prove it." Outside, the sun set over the Hudson, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Our life together was finally beginning, scarred by the past but shaped by love strong enough to survive anything. I thought about the ultrasound image I'd sent to a wrong number that wasn't wrong at all, about the ring I'd found in my drink, about Lucas's confession. Years. I've waited years for you. The waiting was over. We were finally, impossibly, imperfectly home. and it was worth every moment it took to get here.